to this webinar on order and will. My name is Marilyn Paul, and I'll start off by telling you a little bit about myself and then what I hope to cover tonight. So I have been studying Mussar for about 8 years with Rabbi David Jaffe of the Kirva Institute, and I've also taught or led several VADs on Mussar Vadot. And I am also the author of a book, It's Hard to Make a Difference When You Can't Find Your Keys, the 7-Step Path to Becoming Truly Organized. And I wrote that book for people who are challenged or struggling with creating enough order in order to manifest their will in the world. So this is a topic that's very, very interesting to me, very, very dear to my heart. So let's start right here. What is one basic relationship between order and will? We're going to explore this relationship. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about Rabbi Shlomo Volbe, who is a modern Mussar teacher. He passed away about 7 years ago. And in his book, Ale Shor, he has several passages on order and will that I'll refer to, and also talk about how do we create the will enough to create the order that we want, and how important order is in manifesting what's important to us. So you can see that there is a powerful and reinforcing relationship between order and will. We can develop our will to create the order that we need in our lives that will enable us to manifest what we want. Seder creates ratzon, ratzon leads to more seder, and so we can create more of what we want in our lives. In fact, Reb Volbe says, when we start to do our learning, our self-learning, our self-examination on order, we start by observing or meditating on what we want in life. As we meditate on what we want in life, we start to discover an answer. Then we ask ourselves, what can we do in our current situation to make our will real? And this is from Reb Shlomo Volbe, Seder Vad Rishon, in his book, Ale Shor. So you can see from his comment that it's very, very important to think of order not just as we often think of order, let's tidy up, or let's make the place look great. That's not what we're talking about now with respect to order. We're talking about the order that can enable us to do real work. And as I read this, I thought real work is not just our work in the world, but it's also our inner work. Real work cannot take place without order. So we think about the work of our work in the world, our work in creating a home, a livable environment, not just a livable environment, but an environment that can help us thrive, that can help us really celebrate ourselves and our families and the people we share our homes with, and our inner work, our avodat pnimit. And we want to do that inner work in such a way that we can get results. Now, I found that well, first of all, I'll address this, and then I want to talk a little bit about the order that enables us to manifest what we really want. Reb Volbe says, one should not demand of oneself more than his strength allows, but also not too little. As you or I clarify what is important we will arrive at creating personal order in our day and in our night. We often don't think of creating order this way. He's talking about order in time and how important that is. And another Mussar principle, I think, is we need to know what we can do. Let us not demand of ourselves more than we can do, but also not too little. The path of Mussar is a path of moderation. So when we're creating our order, we recognize that it takes strength. It takes strength. And we need to know how much strength we actually have for this and not to overdo it, not to expect more order than we can create, but also not to expect less. Now, how is it, though, that we actually can create this personal order in our day and in our night? And for us, it's also personal order, not just in our time, but in our space. So will, when we say ratzon, we say, that is something I want. Ratzon comes from the word to want. Ani rotza, ata rotze. You want, I want. So it's order and wanting. And what turns that wanting into the ability to achieve a goal is determination. So for some of us, the very first place to start is to figure out how are we going to create the right amount of order for ourselves in our lives. How do we get that determination? Excuse me, I have a cold. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's getting dark here. I'm in Jerusalem right now, and night has fallen. So where you are, it's probably still daytime, speaking of order in day and night. So what I'd like to do is talk about how do we create the will to create order, and then how do we create order so that we're not stumbling over ourselves as we go after what we really want. With respect to what we want in life, Reb Goldie says, and I think it's something very important, part of our self-observation and our meditation, excuse me, is to understand what we want, but also how do we align our ratzon with God's will. So here, let's have a look at how do you create the will to create order in your life. The very first thing you do is you know what you want to do. What is your purpose? Why are you creating order? Order that will enable you to do something meaningful. That is, know your purpose. Why are you creating this order? And that is part of creating will. Many of us think of will as something we just power through. We have an idea of what we want to do, and we just go for it. And those of us who don't enable ourselves to do that, we can't just go for it, well, there's something wrong with us. We're lazy. Even Reb Goldie says that those people who are disorganized are lazy. And I have to say I strongly disagree with that. Often we do not know how to create determination to achieve something that is so important to us, a livable order. So the first part of that is why. Why get organized? What am I not able to do right now? What can I not do that is very, very important to me right now because I don't know, I'm not organized enough. That's my purpose. I can't hold down the job I want to hold down because I'm too disorganized. I can't find the time to date and find a partner and create the life that I want because I'm too busy. I'm too disorganized. My days and nights are not orderly. You need to know why the order. Secondly, how do you imagine this manifesting? What will this look like for you? And that is creating your vision. Can you imagine a life in which you actually are attaining your most meaningful goals? And what will that look like? You can imagine perhaps getting up at 7 or 6 or whatever it takes and going right out for your run, or going right into meditation, but imagining that vividly so you start to understand this is indeed possible because you have imagined it. For understanding your current situation, we draw on Mussar practices of self-observation and meditation. We want to understand our current situation deeply so we understand our role in creating the disorder that we often struggle against. How did it happen that I can't find my keys? How did it happen that I was moving so quickly that I didn't have lunch today and then my energy flagged? What exactly happened though? Not beating ourselves up about it, but going more deeply into understanding perhaps there was a choice point. I can see now that at 11:30 I was hungry, but I wanted to finish something up, and I had another meeting at noon, and I didn't have the time, but I didn't create the time to feed myself properly. Now, as we use the Mussar notion of a Bechira point, of a choice point, we start to see in creating order that we go from one choice point in a way to the next. I'm leaving this current situation, I'm leaving this meeting. Do I take a minute or 5 minutes to put things away? And do I deeply understand that the choices that I make affect my ability to go after my most meaningful goals? So we start to understand that there are choice points over and over again. Here's some examples. Coming into your home, perhaps you're carrying groceries or papers. What happens next? Do you open up the newspaper and start reading, or put things away? I myself, in that situation, would often have an aversion to putting things into their places. I would not want to, because there were some deep reasons why I preferred chaos and disorder. And I did not understand at the time how important order was to allowing me to manifest my will. So as we understand our current situation more deeply, we can start to see our choice points. We can start to see what we're thinking about, and we can start to understand perhaps how the Yetzer Hara, how our inclination to create instability may take over and create more instability for ourselves. That's one way of understanding the Yetzer Hara, is that I understand the Yetzer Hara now as the manifestation of my ingrained emotional patterns that keep me from clarity and from meaning. That's how I understand the Yetzer Hara. Now, we're talking about creating will by knowing our purpose, by getting a clearer picture of what we want, by using hitbonenut, meditation, and self-observation to understand our current situation. And finally, we need support. So often when we think about will, we think about the Lone Ranger or someone on their own battling courageously to achieve what they want. But in the Mussar world, no one is alone. We have the members of our VOD. We have our teacher. We have our chavruta partner, our learning partner. And with the VOD members and the chavruta partners, we can really share what our challenges are. We can allow people to lift us up, to help us understand what is our will, what is the will of God, what is, in fact, what are our Bechira points, how do we understand those Bechira points, and we can understand how important order is. And through those conversations, we build will now with steps 1 through 4. A very important role of the VOD is to have conversations about what is meaningful, what is happening, what is important. It's so important to know what our values are, and we can clarify them in conversation. Mussar teachers tell a classic story of what is more important. In a pearl necklace, is it the pearls or the clasp? When we're talking about order, we can think of the clasp as those systems and structures and habits that lend order to our lives. But so often, don't we think we have a pearl necklace, but the pearls are clearly what's most important. And our Mussar teachers say, the pearls are our midot. We are like a necklace full of strength and challenges and such valuable aspects of ourselves. But without order, those midot will scatter, and those midot cannot really be joined together in order to create the beautiful necklace. So many of us are tempted to run from situation to event, to an activity, to another event, and we forget to create the order, little bits of order all day long. At the end of the day, we're faced with a stack of unsorted papers, or a sink full of unwashed dishes, or perhaps a bedroom full of clothes on the floor strewn across the bed. What happens to us then is very, very important. That environment reflects something to ourselves. It reflects that we're not on top of things. It makes it harder to feel that we are in charge of our lives. Not only that, we become more distracted. In that state of distraction, it's so much easier to pick up the newspaper and randomly read, or go online and read your newspaper and just go from article to article, or randomly check email, because we have that feeling of distraction, of not enoughness. So there, we can use our VOD, and we can use our chavruta partner, and we can consult with our teacher to reinforce this so very important value of order. The order that is the clasp of your necklace, the order that brings our midot together. So now we have will, hopefully. We have the will to create more order in our lives. And now we start creating it. We identify strategies for creating order. You think, what is most important here? We'll create order little by little. Now, it's important to choose one thing at a time or two things at a time. If ever you've said, okay, this is it, I'm tired of running late, I'm tired of the mess, I'm going to sort all my papers, you may discover that you tire in the middle. Your will flags. So what we want to do here is actually take a certain kind of orderly action. So when we're taking an orderly action, we want to set for ourselves daily order. We think, when should we go to bed? And when should we get up? When to pray? How much time should we allow for breakfast? And that goes on for the rest of the day. Again, a quote from Reb Shlomo Golbe Ale Shor's Seder Bad Ratzon, the first Bad in his book, Ale Shor. Have we thought enough about really determining for ourselves when to go to bed and when to get up? We want, as we think through our strategies, how to create a wise order, that we won't burden ourselves with too much order, because as he says so wisely, we don't want to rebel against ourselves when we create order. So here we have the Mussar practice of Kabala. A Kabala is a very small practice that we do every day that is small enough, in fact, that in a way it flies below your radar of resistance. There's something about changing the way we do things that evokes resistance. And the beauty and the brilliance of Mussar Kabbalot is hopefully they are so tiny that the part of you that wants order can proceed with tiny step by step. And the part of you that resists order is not waking up in order to put the kibosh on creating order. So perhaps we think of Kabbalot as a way, of creating tiny little habits, mini habits that we actually can do and that we can practice every day, day after day, until they start taking over more of our lives without upsetting ourselves too much. It's so important to remember that much as we want to change, we also don't want to change. Much as we want to create order, and much as we want to manifest our will in life, and really meditate on and ponder, what is it we really want? So when you pick your Kabbalah, return to the question that Reb Shlomo Golbe poses to us. What is it that you really want? And match your Kabbalah to that. So let's say perhaps what you want is more clarity of mind, either in your office or at your home. And in order to have that clarity of mind, you want to have a beautiful, simple, spacious, uncluttered environment. Again, an uncluttered desk or an uncluttered living room or dining room or kitchen. If that's what's on your mind, that uncluttered space will lead to more clarity and more pride in yourself and perhaps more self-love, that you could choose 5 to 10 minutes of decluttering a day. That's it. That you will say perhaps from 7 to 7:05 in the morning you'll declutter, and from 7 to 7:05 at night. That's enough just to get started, to have the experience, to commit to that much. You can do that. But perhaps one of the things that you've noticed is that you're exhausted. And one reason you're exhausted is your sleep is uneven and uneasy. That one recommendation that you've noticed from the sleep specialist is to get to bed at the same time every night. So that would be it. One small change. You pick your bedtime and just try to keep that at the same time every night. One of the things I do is I coach people who struggle with disorganization. And I had a client who was an executive in a health center. And every night she would start watching TV around 11 and fall asleep. Who knew when? Fall asleep in front of the TV and then struggle to bed, putting her night clothes on and getting under the covers around 3 o'clock. So one of the things we worked on was to actually choose when to go to sleep. Now, for some people, that's hard. If you struggle with insomnia, but you can choose at least to settle yourself down comfortably, to open up a book, and then to let yourself slowly relax. Another Kabbalah might be to get to bed 15 minutes earlier. We can't change our body clock so readily. Some people suggest 15 minutes a week. Another Kabbalah might be once you've eaten, do your dishes right then and there. You are not done with the meal until you are done with the dishes. Or the same thing, you're going to hang up your clothes from today. As you change from today's clothes into night clothes, that's your decision, just to hang those up. And perhaps, if there are other clothes lying around, you might hang up one more piece of clothing and put one away. I just want to make a comment about this Kabbalah because so many people have mentioned to me, it's a good idea, but my closet is too full. So one thing you might start with is to choose one piece of clothing, one garment to give away. That's it, every day until your closet is much more open so you can put things away. We're living in Israel now for the year, and we moved to an apartment that's much smaller than our home outside of Boston. And the closets are tiny. And one thing that I decided to do was bring the minimal amount of clothing. So not only do I have a tiny closet, but my closet is less than half full. And it's hard to convey how wonderful that is to have so few choices. My closet is half full. I wear all of my clothes. There is no excess. And it makes my life so much easier and in some ways much more joyful because I love my clothes, but there just aren't that many of them. We don't have the space here. There's not a lot of space there, not a lot of storage space. And it's wonderful. Another Kabbalah that you might choose is just putting things away that you use today. So before you go to sleep, whatever you use, you find a place for it. If there's something on your desk that's out of place, find a place for it. Little by little, though, you might just do that for 5 minutes a day. In the Talmud, it says, Tofasta nevava lo tofasta. Tofasta me'at tofasta, which means liktos is to seize. So those who seize a lot cannot seize what they are going after. So we're talking about going after what we really want. Those who seize a little or try to grasp a little bit, tofasta me'at tofasta. So here we understand from this that as we try to create what we want, even then, even in Talmudic times, people would go after more than they could manage. And now, in this moment, we also do we not find ourselves going after more than we can manage to actually grasp. But it feels painful, I think. Oh. Too, that we need to start thinking about how do we do less. And even the less we do will be too much. And then even a little less. And we reduce our goals little by little until we can really focus on what is most important. The challenge here is we are, many of us, myself included, addicted to busyness. It feels so good in a way to run from one thing to the next. Yet at the end of the day, if it is all a blur, we are not going after what Reb Goldie says we need to meditate on what is most important. Now I see someone has raised their hand. So how do I access that? I guess I will just continue. So we're coming to the end of this presentation, and I have one more slide to share with you, and then we will be done. So the slide I wanted to share with you is, again, my name is Marilyn Paul, and my book is Heart Under Keys, and you can find me at my website or email me at mpaul3@comcast.net. Okay, so you can type in your questions, and we have some time for questions and for comments, if you have any. Then I want to thank all of you for your time and for your presence at this webinar. And if you have other questions, you're most welcome to email me at the email address that I gave you. And I really appreciate your joining us tonight. Where this ends is back to Heat One Beach. Step 7 is to go back to learning from experience. And one last thing I will say as we bring this to a close is that all of this is about Heat One Beach. We try Kabala, we learn from it, we see what order we create, we see if our will is liberated, we see if we can move more towards what we really want, and we go back to this question at the beginning. Thank you very, very much.
Did it work?
Yeah, but now how do I get to the meeting? I'm sitting here, there's a host, the meeting's going on. Do I just hit quick start or something?
I suppose. I don't know. I've never done one of these before.
Share my desktop.
No,
It says lead meeting, so where is the meeting?
that's when you're leading a meeting.
I know, but I don't want to look at that.
Hi, Diana.
Hi,
That meeting's over. Where were you?
I was trying to get on WebEx Connect or whatever it was.
Well, you made it. The meeting, however, was 9 to 12, and just wrapped up, I think.
It's just 9:40. It took me 40 minutes plus. Sorry about that.
It's okay. She ran through it pretty quickly, so
Okay.
you did it all right, except nobody's there.
I did it all right too late.
Well, I think it's more ended early.
And early. Okay, but now I know I have everything in place.
You have everything you need.
Okay. Is there anything special I missed, or
It's recorded, so you'll be able to see it.
where will I find the recording of it?
We will send you the link.
Oh, well then I didn't really. Will you always do that when there's a webinar?
We'll try to. These are all recorded, so we should be able to get you.
And if I'm signed up, you send the link, or do you send the link to everybody, irregardless?
Well, I think it'll be sent to everybody, but I'll make sure you get it.
Well, because some of these webinars I didn't sign up for because I have conflicting things. Like right now, I'm usually in Torah study. So I'm wondering if I need to sign up for the webinars, or if you're always just going to send the link, then I will just watch the link when it comes.
You always need to register.
Oh, okay. So I register, but if I'm not at the thing, I'll get the link.
We can get to the link.
Okay, that's it. Now from now on, I'll sign up for all of them then. And I'll hopefully be there for the next one. Thanks a lot.
Okay then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.